Check, check. Check 1, 2. Check, check. Check 1, 2. That's good.
Thanks. It's not a problem.
Check, check.
I really have.
Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios at Santander Stadium. This is York's local sports show, talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Good afternoon, folks, and welcome. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg, joined by Brandon Stoneberg. Steve Navaroli will be here momentarily. Steve usually is the voice of this program, but he is caught up in traffic on the way to Santander Stadium. So, Brandon, at least for the get-go, me and you are kind of running the offense right now, and it's kind of a helter-skelter system.
I mean, we're kind of up against the odds. We're shorthanded, but I mean, I feel like a West York performance versus Northeastern coming. Like, up against the odds, against something undefeated. Maybe we show up and just and knock it out of the park.
You best rise to the occasion. I mean, it's actually kind of been a helter-skelter day because obviously Steve, originally we were supposed to have kind of a full booth. Of course, us two. Of course, Mr. Nav. Matt Gould was going to join us as well, or at least for an hour before he headed out to hoops practice. But Jeremy Jones of York Suburban, the former football coach there, he is not there anymore. They sent out an email this morning saying they are searching for a new football coach. The search is officially underway, so Matt is currently chasing that story. Of course, we talked about Nav and traffic. So, again, kind of a helter-skelter offense here, but we're pushing through it.
Journalism is helter-skelter most of the time.
No question.
You got to stay on your feet, but, maybe we'll be like Nick Young. Just give us the ball and get out of the way.
Absolutely. That's kind of what we're shooting to do. You know what? Daryl Henry also isn't here. Daryl is...
He's here for a very, very good reason now.
Absolutely. He is... Daryl is Mr. Everything here at WOYK 1350. And him and his wife actually just had a baby boy this morning. Connor William Henry, born at 8:11 a.m., 7 pounds 5 ounces, 19.8 inches, strapping young lad.
Yeah, it sounds like an athlete in the making.
Absolutely.
Congrats to Daryl and his wife.
So,
can't wait to see Connor.
Congrats to the both of them. We do have a big show today. Again, Steve will be here momentarily. Andy Meeks is joining us in hour number 2 at about 5:30 to talk about District 3 wrestling. Obviously, we're talking about high school hoops. We will talk about the Jones departure, 6 YAIAA football coach to leave this offseason. Pretty wild number there. So there's a lot to get at. We'll start out by giving out our game balls, though, for the past week. Brandon, I'm going to give it to Kate Bauhoff, New York Catholic freshman. She had 15 points in their win over DeLone Catholic last weekend. Big win for the Fighting Irish. She also had 14 points, and they beat Steel High last week as well. So really a big performances from the freshman. Although obviously she's not playing like a freshman. She's stepping up her game in a big way. Who are you going to give the rock to?
I like the Bauhoff one. In terms of regular season, that's as bright as the lights get at York Catholic. A game against DeLone, so being a freshman, that's pretty impressive for her. I was going to cheat and give mine to I'm going to give one to the Gettysburg Warriors boys hoops team. 8 wins out of 10. They turned their season around. They were 2 games under 500.
Sure.
They they had some time over the holidays. They hosted a tournament. Things turned around, started clicking. They won 8 out of 10. I saw them at the York Adams Mid-Penn Showcase, and they beat a higher ranked Boiling Springs team pretty convincingly. So they've been on a roll, and then I thought West York. I got to see them come within a couple inches, a couple seconds of beating number 1 McDevitt, and then they used that momentum and go ahead and knock off undefeated Northeastern. So a tough schedule, and they came out pretty well. They got to be feeling pretty good about themselves as well.
Oh, they got to be feeling really good about themselves. I think that they played excellent basketball. Obviously, as you mentioned, beating Northeastern this past week. Well coached team, very well prepared. I know they faced Northeastern earlier in the year. They lost. They came back kind of with a chip on their shoulder, and they certainly proved themselves. So big ups to them. We're going to get at that in segment number 3 of the program. Nav actually just walked in the building. I think he's kind of trying to warm up here a bit. We will also get to our athletes of the week. This is voted on the Varsity Beat blog. We obviously have our weekly poll. We give a male athlete and a female athlete of the week. Dallastown girls basketball, Deborah Hendricks. Debria Hendricks, thank you, Nav. She carried the Wildcats down the stretch during their 47-38 win over New Oxford on Friday. She scored 9 points of her game-high 18 in the fourth quarter. She knocked down 7 of 9 from the free throw line. She hit 3 3-pointers on the evening. So big performance from her. On the male side of the ledger, we have Dylan Krieger, Hanover boys basketball. Brandon, you were at this basketball game. He has 1,195 career points. It's a new career record at Hanover. He scored 25 in their 65-60 win over York Catholic on Friday. So really big effort from him, and I know you were at that contest. Why don't you paint the picture for the listeners out there what that was like to cover?
Coming in, he was 1 point shy of the record, and he needed 1 to tie it, 2 to break it. And if you've seen Krieger play, it usually takes him about 20-30 seconds tops to get that. We were joking. I was joking with the AD there as a over/under. How long would it take him to get it? And we had it at 30 seconds. It took him about 45 seconds. In one possession, he missed 3 straight layups, feeling a little jittery, and then got his offensive rebound all 3 times and finally put the layup in. They stopped the game. Had a really cool moment, actually. The guy who had held the record for 48 years, Kevin O'Brien, was in the stands waiting, and they brought him out to center court with the game ball, handed it to Krieger.
It was a very cool moment.
Krieger shook his hand, took the ball over to his mother, a lot like he did. He did the same thing when he got his 1,000th point. He took the ball over. His family was there. I got to meet with them before the game. Great people there. Took it over to his family, hugged them, came back on the court, and Coach Meyer says he loves it for his players, but some games like that, senior nights, homecoming, stuff like this, sometimes your kids get a little jittery, and they let York Catholic hang in it. York Catholic had the lead all the way up until
They
late
battle,
fourth
yeah,
quarter,
no question.
But Krieger got it, and he now owns the boys' career points record. And Sukana Tracy this week topped 1,000. She's only a junior, so she might go for the school record. The school record's held by a girl right around 1,400. So Tracy has another year to get 400 points.
Obviously, first year here, I feel like there's been a lot of 1,000-point scorers. I mean, is this abnormal?
Now, we've actually had this in the last few years, and I think it's a lot of – and that was one of the things I was going to jump in with now as we're talking about Dylan Krieger.
Sure.
I'm amazed – think about this, that record, that school record lasted 48 years.
It is unbelievable.
And there's two major factors why I'm saying that, but starting with the three-point line. I mean, the gentleman before set the record without the three-point line,
very true.
But then it lasts – not only through the onset of the three-point line, but also freshmen playing varsity basketball. Because I'll tell you, when the previous record holder said it, freshmen were not playing varsity basketball. And neither did they through the 70s and a lot of the 80s. But, with the influx of more talented freshmen, and I'm justifying it. If the freshmen belongs, they belong, and when I'm done, I'm going to give out my game ball to a freshman. So, but when you look at that, those two factors, it's almost hard to believe that it took so long to break the record. But certainly that's a great record holder in Dylan Krieger. I mean, I was lucky enough to get to watch him play this year and was very, very impressed. Just the way he handled it. Everybody, oh yeah, you're 6'6", you should be good, but he is smooth. He's an excellent ball handler, a good passer.
Great athlete.
He does everything. Yeah, and
great
on
athlete.
The football field, he led the league in reception. So he is a great athlete and seems to be even as quality a young man, which honestly is even more important as the parent of me comes out.
I talked to a couple of basketball players down there when I was doing like a little survey, a little poll, and asked who the toughest player in the lead guard was, and a couple of guys answered Krieger just because he's got the jump shot now. He's got the athleticism. He can get to the basket. He makes getting to the basket look easy, especially for a 6'6" kid. And then I asked Mr. O'Brien, the previous record holder, I asked him before the game, I said, are you okay with Krieger, of all people, breaking it? Is he kind of a worthy successor? And he said, you know what, that was actually kind of really important to me, even if it sounds selfish. It was really important that we passed the record on to somebody who really deserves it. And he had nothing but the highest praises for Krieger. He said he was a great kid, great family. He was really happy that it was him breaking the record of all people.
Yeah, yep, you're right about that, and I understand that Teddy helped me out as we were just talking and giving out the game ball to Kate Bow off of York Catholic. And Ted, I was actually walking
you were at
into here,
and you were at the game
when I missed that. And the funny thing is, only a freshman. She led all scorers, including topping Maddie Comley of DeLone. She led all freshmen as York Catholic defended home court, as they have every night since 2009, defended home court in beating DeLone. Gee, big surprise those two teams split their games, and we know we'll see him play again. But the neatest thing to me was after she did this, I said to Bankos, because Coach Kevin Bankos, a lot of coaches are a little apprehensive about having their freshmen speak, and sometimes their freshmen don't really want to speak, if you will, and I get that, and I said, hey, I'd like to talk to Kate. Obviously, I hadn't had the opportunity to do that yet, and I said, but freshman, and Kevin looks at me in a Kevin moment, and he says, hey, she's a varsity basketball player. She's not a freshman.
Yeah, I like that attitude a lot.
What? And how great was that? And I talked to her, and you know what? She belongs. I mean, she is a terrific young player. And what do you know? A nice young player for the Irish to build around and go for more district titles.
Nev, I want to build on that point because you were at the game. You obviously could comment on this. It seemed like, obviously, reading your story, it seemed like she made big plays down the stretch of the basketball game.
Well, I think she hit 4 free throws in the fourth quarter.
Huge three-point play
of that game, and had a huge three-point play right when, York Catholic controlled from the start. I mean, they went up 7-2, I believe it was, and DeLone got in foul trouble early and just could not find a rhythm because of it. York Catholic did an unbelievable job on the league's leading scorer, Maddie Comley. Now, one of the things that DeLone coach Jerry Eckenrode said was, well, they did a good job on her, and he gave all props to York Catholic. However, this would have been the night for somebody else to step up, but they just could find no offensive rhythm, and nothing worked that way. But, when DeLone started to get that little bit of a string going, Maddie scored 7 straight points at one point, and Kate drives baseline, goes to her left, scoops in a layup, gets fouled, hits the free throw, 3-point play. All of a sudden, the 3-point lead is 6. One stop later, now it's 8, and it just built from there, and the entire team rallied around what she did.
Big time plays right there. That's something when you're covering a game, you really appreciate those. Stats are stats, money plays are money plays. That's the bottom line.
That's really well put. I mean, no question about that. And speaking of money plays, here I arrived late as and not to throw people under the bus, but why in the world would you be working on an extremely busy road after 3 o'clock when school's let out and you got a billion cars on it? But Queen Street between the Sheets and Dallastown was 1 lane, and it took me 20 minutes to go a half mile.
It's just a valid question, but we're thrilled you're here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be here, but it's odd.
A nice traffic heads up for the people out there listening.
Absolutely, yeah.
See, there's your traffic report, and you know what? But listen, the silver lining. You guys know I'm a silver lining guy. The silver lining with this is the fact that people are going to be stuck in their cars for a little bit longer. They can listen to us longer.
Yeah, you're lifting a traffic report with GameTimePA.
and again, hey, you might as well sit back, relax, and enjoy some local high school sports talk, right?
Great call, absolutely. Well, we're going to come back right after this. We got high school hoops to get to, as we mentioned earlier. We got our Uncle Steve segment to get to at 5 o'clock sharp, folks. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chefs' Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Louts Road in York. Come visit us today.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Looking for a different kind of family fun? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Get on the ice with your friends for Rock and Skate. The last Friday of each month. Every Wednesday is family night with free skate rentals for the whole family. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. For party package prices and public skating times, check out YorkSkate.com. Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. And skating rental is included. Or get on the ice for York Ice Arena hockey programs. Taught by Ice Arena coaches, boys and girls can learn proper techniques for the game. Rental equipment is available. Group skating lessons and beginner hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to YorkSkate.com.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey!
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Putting a winning team on the field starts with a good manager. Murray Securis believes the same is true when it comes to all-star health benefits. And Murray Securis Choice Benefits Marketplace just made managing that call a whole lot easier. Employers can now offer a comprehensive benefits program that controls costs and gives employees the education and resources to be active in managing their health care. Designed for employer groups of 20 or more, Choice Benefits Marketplace gives your employees the power of choice and simplifies benefits administration for employers. Contact Murray Securis or go to choicebenefitsmarketplace.com. GameTimePA.com.
Hi, I'm Susquehannock girls basketball coach Dave Schreiner. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in New York, first in sports.
Back at his normal position. Oh man, I just went third person there. Sorry, position. Brandon Stoneberg, Teddy Feinberg, and of course, I arrived late because of the obviously documented traffic issues. But then I'm going to be leaving early, covering a big swim meet. I'm really kind of excited about it. York Suburban is going to be at West York in the meet that'll decide the Division II girls championship. And what's really interesting is this has always been Division II since they broke up in divisions, has always come down, boys and girls, to York Suburban and Dover. Well, Susquehannock, although their meet got pushed to Saturday, Susquehannock can wrap up the boys Division II. They have at least a share of it, and the other potential would be Gettysburg there, and that's who they face. So that's intriguing. And then on top of that, you've got West York involved in the girls chase. So I think it's been fun this year having new teams.
More parity.
It's great having fresh blood.
It really is, and of course, Division I, nothing's new because Downtown is just really, really good, and they've proven it a couple times. I saw a great meet on Tuesday down at Redline, Central York Redline. They split boys and girls, and the girls meet was terrific. So it's that time of year, and of course, next week I'll be on a weird schedule as well because the YAIA diving championships are Wednesday, and then the swimming championships are Thursday and Friday. So I'll be doing some odd things for you that next week as well, Ted. So we'll maybe we can pull Andy Meeson 2 straight weeks.
He's been our go-to guy from a wrestling standpoint, and we need a go-to guy from wrestling, so we're very grateful for that.
He's a solid 6 man. He's a really good like Manu Ginobili coming off the bench.
No, he's definitely in the conversation for 6th man of the year.
Oh yeah, no, I like that. I definitely do, and he really does a great job in a lot of facets for us, but especially what he does with the wrestlers.
He's a key glue guy. Period. Even behind the scenes, but in wrestling, it really shows.
And in our case, it allows me to concentrate obviously on swimming, but also basketball as well, and it allows Matt to obsess over basketball because Matt obsesses over basketball. So it really works in our office, but I think there's obviously a good trickle down to help out Brandon from the in the Evening Sun area as well. So and speaking of the Evening Sun area, let's talk a little girls hoops.
Okay.
And Biglerville, 1,000-point scorer Rebecca Isaac, Maddie Wank averaging nearly 10 points a game, Isaac 17.5 a game. We don't talk a lot about the Canners because they're in the same division with York Catholic and DeLone Catholic, right, unfairly. But, I've been, and I haven't had cause to see them play. But, I look at the box scores. I usually compile the girls' stats. I mean, I'm really impressed with this Biglerville team.
Yeah, Isaac was battling through some injuries midway through the season, but she was able to get 1,000, like Teddy said, another one of our 1,000-point scorers this year, at least a second or third on the girls' side, along with Tracy from Hanover just last night. But they're 13-6. They're 6-5 in the division, which means they're third. So they're not going to, they're on the bubble there for the league playoffs, but they're right in the thick of it for the districts, and they'll definitely get some postseason time. Isaac's been great, and Wank, like you said, has been a great complement piece to her, and also getting double figures. And they've had a solid run. They're right there, right on the second tier behind the Catholic schools.
And I'd argue that Wank, early in the year, when Isaac was dealing with stuff, when Wank was leading them in scoring typically, and I think she topped 20 a couple times, which when you're not your team's primary, that says something.
Yeah, she's filled in nicely, which is great for the coaching staff because when Isaac's there, she can defer a little bit to Rebecca and let her handle the scoring and still chip in. And when Isaac's down with an injury, she steps right up into a primary role, and they kept clicking.
You mentioned, kind of the challenge to get into the league playoffs is the third team, and how it works is the third team can come from either Division II or Division III. The 1 and 2 go from both divisions automatically. But the issue is Division II is so doggone deep. I mean, when
same thing on the boys' side too.
Yeah, and the exact same thing on the boys' side. And there's a lot of the same schools involved in that. And and one of the teams that I wanted to point out, we've talked a lot about, obviously, West York girls being unbeaten, and they're just really, really good. And York Suburban, maybe a moderate surprise, but they're really good. I mean, we've seen this, but Susquehannock, okay, and they came in to the week with a 500 record, 6-4 in this division. But what really impresses me, they graduated 85% of their offense from last year, a team that was very, very good and, had some of the area's best players. And, they all graduated except for one, Ashley Stone, who was a starter last year. Mm-hmm. And you could see her develop as a sophomore, and now she's in as a junior, and she's hitting 11.5 a game. But they've got Tyler Williams enters the lineup this year, 10.6, a little more than that, and last week she had 18 and 20 in a pair of games. I just don't know when the season started that I saw this coming from the Warriors.
No, and the 18 and 20 will definitely help her average out. But when you lose that much, your coaching staff has to be thinking, is this almost going to be a rebuilding year? But then when you can still at least 8-8 with that, losing that much is a great step in the right direction. Great to keep them afloat. They're especially in Division II. And Stone has been great, Williams has been great, and they've held their own. Yeah,
and keep in mind, they lost now my mind just went blank. I hate when that happens.
It does happen,
they
especially on live radio.
They lost Katie Wagner, a fantastic all-around player who could score, play defense. I saw Wagner get 10 steals.
She's a college player right now.
Yeah, she's a starter at York College. I saw her get 10 steals in one game last year. I mean, that's her type player. But Shannon Druck is playing up at Holy Cross, Division I, and a couple other terrific athletes around. I mean, those are major components, and I want to give props to Coach Dave Schreiner. I mean, what a job he has done, because he could have looked at that and said, wow, did our cupboard get bare except for one person? But they've come together.
It speaks to their depth and coaching for sure, I think, to be able to stay, like I said, stay afloat and keep it going there after losing that much.
Yeah, when you've got such a competitive division, obviously, and Dover's another team that got hammered by graduation. I mean, graduated Leah Hall, school record holder in points, and they she graduates, and they graduated, I believe, 4/5 of their starting rotation, if not all 5, and they're hanging around. Northeastern hanging around.
I'll honestly say Dallastown
in Division I.
In Division I,
no
question.
We hadn't got to Division I yet. There's another log jam at the top.
Oh yeah, exactly. And now, of course, Red Lion had been undefeated.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Segue, let's go. Good point though. Red Lion was undefeated, and they looked ready to wrap this thing up. And then, of course, Central York, fantastic game they had in beating Red Lion the week before. I covered that game. I talked a lot about that last week. And there's a loss in Dallastown, which looked out of it. Not physically out of it, but certainly out of the race. Yeah. Well, now they've gotten hot again. I mean, their only loss in the last 7, I think, was to a very good York Catholic team in comeback fashion.
Knocked off New Oxford in a bounce-back game the other night.
There's another team, though, New Oxford. There are legitimately 4 teams in Division I, at least 4 in Division II, maybe 5, and 3 in Division III, putting Biglerville in there, that you could, kind of lump together. There certainly are the standouts. Got to start with West York. York Catholic is there again, and I put DeLone right there as well. Mm-hmm. I meant to check
Red Line probably,
and Red Line would be there too. Although their offense is kind of starting to struggle a little, but they'll right it. Mm-hmm. I know Coach Don Dimoff really well, and they'll find a way. And of course, Courtney Dimoff, who was held scoreless against Central, struggled that weekend, although she wasn't feeling well. But she responded the other night. She had 6 3-pointers. All of her field goals were from downtown.
They have a nice tag team in the backcourt there.
Yeah, they do. Amy Masieski has been, and I was really curious to see Amy's maturation this year. I've known the Masieski family for a long time. Todd was a 4-year player, an all-state punter for the Red Lion football team, and
Love
also played basketball. He also played at York College basketball. And Erica was a 3.5-year starter type thing. She came off the bench as a freshman, but saw a lot of minutes. Started her last 3 years, and she's up at Bloom now. And then Amy, same thing, time as a freshman, and is now starting. And she's finding her game, and she's physically different from her siblings. And it's really, that's been interesting to see as well. And I think that's gone a long way to help Redline.
Well, we have Redline at 9-1 in division. We have Dallastown at 8-2, Central York 7-3, New Oxford 7-4. I mean, it's going to be.
So that's still 4 teams mathematically who can make the league playoffs.
Right.
There's 3 spots and 4 teams fighting for it.
And here's the thing: any of those teams can beat each other.
I would agree. It seems that way. Yeah.
Question about it. Look, I love what Baylorville's doing. Do I think they can beat York Catholic? No.
Yeah, no doubt.
But and do I think any of the 3 good teams in Division 2 can beat West York? I'm not convinced.
When you're sitting at 11-0,
exactly. That's my point.
I got to see West York twice over the holidays. They had the Suburban tournament, and they just handled Suburban, which is a really good team.
Suburban's a good team.
And they just manhandled Southwestern. I saw them just destroy Southwestern as well. They did their offense is just everyone can score for them. They can shoot the lights out. Both teams tried to run in the zone against them, and coach said, "I don't get why. We can, we'll shoot you out of the zone. We'll back cut you to death."
Mark of a good team. A good team can beat you multiple ways, and it sounds like they can.
They don't have any weaknesses.
No, exactly. And I'm telling you, though, my team that I think that even if you're one of those upper tier teams that you don't want to play, though, is Central.
Really?
And it's because of their defense. When they are playing now, they have a consistency thing, as Coach Scott Wisner will tell you. But when they're playing that stellar D, they're really hard to go against.
Well, they prove that. They have proven that before. And offensively, do they have deficiencies in your mind?
Well, here's the deal. They're starting to move the ball inside more. They've got a really skilled freshman in Nixon Valencic who, good rebounder, but she's starting to find her scoring touch. Well, that helps. They've got shooters and that. Now, can they consistently hit the jump shots? That can be a struggle because the night that they beat Redline, Central struggled offensively.
Well, that's why I asked. I was thinking about
such
that game.
Good defense. Yeah. I mean, in a 30-18 win. So, but it's just a team on that given night that even if you're a West York, a DeLone Catholic, a York Catholic on a given night, they can stick you. It's not a team you want to go against.
But how exciting is that? Is that going to make the league playoffs then? When you have that many good teams in the league and they're all going to be battling each other over 1 week.
Love it, because here's the deal. You can always get amped up about the league championship, even the league semifinals. This opening round with the parity with this group of teams this year, more so in the girls, but this opening round could be one of the best.
And the cross division, the mixed matching. I was looking at how the bracket will stack up today, if the season ends today, and the matchups are just amazing across the board. Just unique matchups that you won't get to see during the regular season.
And that's what, and the thing of it is, there is not. West York got to be the favorite. Yeah. But I'm not convinced there's a true gimme all the way through the tournament.
Just want to bring up a real quick point about the defense. Good defensive teams, good rebounding teams. That's the type of system you can pack that up and you can take that with you on the road, and that's why those teams are effective.
Absolutely, good point. So on that note,
one last thing. If whoever gets that Division I first seed, let's say it's Redline, talking about a tough road, their first matchup is going to be the loser of York Catholic DeLone, whoever ends up in second between those two teams.
Yeah.
How's that for a welcome to the league tournament?
Yeah, exactly. When you're the number one in the big school division.
Yeah, and then West York's going to end up with Central or Dallastown in the first round.
And no picnic either. So, yep. And it's going to be a fun tournament. I look forward to that. And when we come back, we're going to do the same thing. We talk about the boys' side of the bracket. After this, you're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Redline, Backyard University is a beautiful, state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espedo, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, your home for York's home teams.
And now a steal at the other end. Wagner picks one away, a foot race, and lays home another one. Dribbles foul line, a jump pass down to Shea, and she has 10.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm Daryl Henry. Join Scott Geis and me every Monday at 4 for York College Spartans Sports Weekly, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Each week, we bring you the latest in Spartan sports, featuring guest appearances from coaches and student athletes. York's home teams play on York's home for local sports. Spartan Sports Weekly, Mondays at 4 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm York High Boys basketball coach Troy Sowers. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
We're going to talk some boys hoops now, and it's funny because coming out of the break, we hear the spot from William Penn coach Troy Sowers, the intro, and the thing with, it's funny, we talk about them all the time. I mean, and that, but here we're going to talk about them when Central York pulls the upset there, and upset maybe is too strong a word. The only reason I call that an upset is because of the way William Penn tore through the first half of the divisional season, and then they needed double overtime to beat Redline the other night. So, but this just could be a little lull, and teams, even good teams, are going to have that. But props to the Panthers for finding their way, because they
started slow.
They started slow, in many ways. I think they look kind of lost. They weren't getting the ball down low to Gingrich. I don't know that Sam Saxon was necessarily getting his shots well. He's starting to get them now.
I actually had a question for you about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a firm believer, as you know, that good teams, good players get better as the season moves along. And it seems like Saxon, again, new to the area, 30,000-foot view, but great player coming into the year, a little bit of a slow start. It seems like he's really been coming on to me the last few games.
No question about it. And I don't know that he was necessarily part of the struggles. The ball is in his hands a lot, whether it's to distribute, create, try to get shots, try to penetrate. He does a lot for that team. But I think now kind of the surrounding cast, is really, really finding its niche. If you would.
They shot the ball incredible the other night. I'll tell you that right now. He was on fire, and they all were.
Exactly, and that makes him so much better.
I saw him in the showcase at Gettysburg, and they took a 6-point lead against, I believe, Chambersburg at halftime, and then in the third quarter outscored them by almost 20 points. And it was all their defense and fast break. They turned defense into transition points and just ran away with that game.
Yeah, and you see that typically with the big schools. If you don't run transition, you better be a phenomenal shooting team.
Yeah.
Particularly in the larger schools, because that's what they're going to get right back at you.
You better have a heck of a half-court offense then. If you can't come and run.
It really, really has to be that way, and and I think that's always been kind of the question of, okay, how do teams develop within the half court, and maybe that was part of Central's issues early. I don't know. I don't have a great feel for it. I've only seen them once this year. But, as they come down in, if they're not getting transitional buckets, well, then you got to rely on half court. And, and if you're struggling in half court, whatever you try to do sometimes doesn't necessarily, work out that well. So, but good for the Panthers. I mean, I think that there's a game that can take them places when it comes to the league tournament where Central they're the defending league tournament champs.
Mm-hmm. I had a question about William Penn for you as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I was actually at this game, so I was a little intrigued.
Oh, that's
I was
right.
there
Yes,
with the news.
I forgot about that.
I was there for about 3 quarters. Okay,
this is the one at William Penn, or this one at Central?
No, this was at Central.
So Central shot the ball very well. William Penn did not shoot the ball well.
William Penn has had games like that where they go into a shooting slump.
They're a great team. No one's denying this point.
Right.
We're splitting hairs at this point. They are a good basketball team. We are aware of that. Shooting and rebounding, are they concerns in your mind at all for that team?
You're talking about William Penn here? Or
yes. Central shot the ball very well. William Penn did not in that particular game.
I mean, are they concerns right now? No, absolutely not. Not going into the league tournament.
I mean, kind of down the road.
Even in districts against the a tough matchup, maybe. But even that. Now, when it comes to the state tournament, when they got to play all those District 1 teams, then it's a concern.
Sure, yeah, I understand.
Because it's hard to, as much as great athleticism as they have, and Jair Wilson and Brandon Smallwood has just been, he's been the breakout player, and obviously Chris Johnson's very good.
And Jair can rebound that basketball.
Oh, yeah,
there's
Jair
no
can
doubt
do
about it.
that.
He's a fierce rebounder.
There's no part of the game that really he can't do,
right.
But all of a sudden, though, you get the states and you're lined up against, a team that goes 6'7", 6'7", 6'8", up front type thing. Right. And sometimes, that if nothing else, it takes away the rebounding. Mm-hmm. So if you're not hitting your shots, and they've got shooters, though. I mean, you know.
They have some maybe some streaky shooters. I've only seen it one time. It was against Spring Grove. Spring Grove immediately went right into a 2-3 zone and said, "Here, William Penn, we'll give you the 3-point shot. Live or die by it." And William Penn shot less than 20%, that night, and then ended up in a 2-point game.
Again, Central shot the ball very well the other night from deep. William Penn, I mean, the 3-point shot's such a big equalizer. William Penn didn't shoot the ball that well, and that was a big difference.
Well, and listen, I mean, if I was, I wouldn't be much of a basketball coach. I'm not always much of a hockey coach, but I do it anyhow. But
I think you're great.
I would certainly think 2-3. Against them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, I would immediately go into a 2-3.
Would I give them the 3-point shot? Absolutely. Do they have guys that can hit it? Certainly. But it's a take your chance, because you're not going to beat them in transition.
No.
You're not.
I would do the same thing. I'll try to bog the game down, slow it down, and say, if you start knocking some shots down, maybe I'll come out and defend it. But until then, here's a 2-3.
Well, if they start knocking shots down, you're not beating them.
Right. But you better you better grab rebounds, though.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind, if they're shooting threes, those are longer rebounds. Well, they got, their guards are so athletic, they can snatch up a long rebound and then throw it underneath for an easy bucket. So you better rebound well against a team like that.
Sure.
But I think that's also part of what we're seeing now with Central is you better rebound well against them, because they will go out and get you in transition.
They're coming on now.
And now, one of the things that I had I wasn't sure how much we would talk about, but speaking of the team coming to get you, West York's win against previously unbeaten Northeastern, I mean, that is impressive. And that just tells me how good a coach Bill Ackerman is.
I saw them. I gave them a game ball because I was so impressed with them. I saw them against McDevitt, and the Mid-Penn people in the stands beforehand were thinking, The York Adams kids are calling this the marquee matchup of the night, but Mid-Penn doesn't think this is much of a matchup. West York stayed in that the entire game. I mean, they stayed within 4, 6, 8 points. They never let McDevitt get away, but they never really crept back into it. Fourth quarter, Ackerman's running his fast style, and his defense took over, and they had a huge three with about 3 seconds left. I believe Bailey, the point guard.
Yeah,
Bailey hit a point guard to tie it and send it to overtime. It was the first, and then Macaulay came out. I think hit a three to start overtime. They hit a second three, and then all of a sudden they were up by 6, and they ended up eventually giving it up on the last possession. They had a chance to tie or win 3 different times and couldn't knock it down. But that was still afterward. Ackerman thought it was a huge. He's not big on moral victories, but it was a huge confidence boost to stay that close and have a chance to put away the number 1 ranked team in the district. And then they come out, they use that, and it flows right into a game against Northeastern next. They're undefeated, and they come out and get a win. So they've got to be flying. They got to be feeling really good about themselves too.
Oh yeah, and you got to think, tournament confidence. Certainly, it's there. I mean, I don't think there's any question they could beat anybody going into this tournament. I mean, beating Northeastern, who I still feel is the top team, them or William Penn, flip a coin, beating them proved it, and beating them impressively.
At the playoff start right now, which I love doing this, and I'll bring it up to you a little bit later. But right now, West York Hanover will be a first round matchup. Imagine that running gun, trying to keep track of scores in that game.
Yeah,
Hanover, West York.
Because they'll awesome. Keep on the. They will definitely keep on the move. And there's a game where that game comes down to rebounding. If you ask me, I mean it definitely does. And I think that's always been a part. I would favor West York's transition game, but on the other end, I favor the ball in Krieger's hands. So that's going to be who else can do something to help. My only concern in that game is West York goes 8-9 deep, and they lose nothing with whoever they substitute.
Yeah, Hanover goes about 6-7 deep on most nice tops.
That could be a big difference in that type matchup, and I think that's what we're going to try to do. I think next week we'll have an idea what some of the matchups are and that, and next week will be fun because we're going to get to probably do more specific breakdowns of games coming. It's so hard to do that during the season. Now, I think after the break, we're going to come back and break some things down, but it's really, really difficult to do, in the season.
No question.
Because they play each other twice within the division, and they play, there's weeks that they're playing 4 games.
Right, I mean, Matt does his power rankings each week, and it's honestly hard to run them sometimes in the paper because a team's playing so many games. Yeah. 2 days later, it's kind of dated.
Well, right, and just like this as we're sitting here, and Teddy, a lot of times I prepare this show when I can jam it in, so it's either Monday or Tuesday because I'm off on Wednesdays, and, in preparing this show, I mean, this week I did it Monday. Well, and half my notes change.
Exactly.
So, where football, that doesn't happen. Football, you're counting on Friday night, maybe Saturday type thing. So, it's just one of the different nuances with the sport.
More games and a lot can change in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. And I have no idea how we're going to handle the spring when there's 9 sports and, 9 sports per gender, basically.
We're just going to pick on Ghoul.
There you go. Well, that'll work. 2 hours of picking on Ghoul. I could probably do that.
Honestly, I think that we'll just get both of you on the mic and you guys will just talk for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's fine. It may work out that way. But anyhow, on that note, folks, we're going to go to another break. We'll be back to talk about some matchups coming up. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Dylan Krieger of Hanover Basketball. Krieger's 1,195 career points is a new record at Hanover. He set the mark during the team's 65-60 win over York Catholic on Friday as he finished the evening with 25 points. And this week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Debria Hendricks of Dallas Town Basketball. Hendricks carried the Wildcats down the stretch during their 47-38 win over New Oxford on Friday night. She scored 9 of her game-high 18 points in the fourth period, while knocking down 7 of 9 shots from the free-throw line. She also hit 3 three-pointers on the evening. For Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, I'm Ray Jensen.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com. The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm West York boys basketball coach Bill Ackerman. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Teddy Feinberg, getting ready to close out the first hour, and we're going to talk about some of the areas, matchups coming in, and I'm going to go off the chart a little bit during this segment. And of course, then when we come back, we're going to do Brandon's favorite segment, at least when he puts me on the spot.
We'll do the Uncle Steve. We'll get some. I'm gonna ask you to hand out a couple awards. We'll do some quiz questions, do some opinion questions. It's gonna be a good time.
Great, and then I'm going to depart. And I guess Andy Meese is on his way in. Hopefully the what looks like a blizzard out our window here at Santander Stadium, coming down right now. Hopefully, because an inch of snow around here can send cars spinning, at a pace I've never seen before, although I've lived here a long, long time, and I say it every single year. But
strange, actually.
It is, but hopefully Andy makes it here safely, and we'll, give you guys a good hookup for the wrestling when I depart for tonight's swim meet. So, we were talking about West York actually during the break, and Brandon, you even mentioned, it was your first conversation with Bill Ackerman. I mean, he really is a dynamic guy when you talk to him, and you realize that.
Yeah, like right off the bat, you tell. I mean, he's a classy guy. Some coaches. I mean, it was a tough loss. They just lost by 2 in a heartbreaker to McDevitt. Seconds after they failed on their final possession to gain the win.
They gave up a lead.
He comes right over to me and is cheerful throughout. And 2-3 minute questions. I said, hey, if you want to, you have time. Go talk to your team. You can come back and talk to me. No, we can do this now. Let's talk now. His kids talk, all classy bunch, and it's just the mindset that they'll have. When it runs through the program like that, it's a sign of a great coach. He has all of them, very, very classy bunch, very well-spoken bunch, mature group. It was fun to cover those guys.
And he's been doing it a long time, 16 years, and I've known Bill that entire time. And what's been a lot of fun for me, in that is, one time like last year they hit a buzzer beater up in Northeastern in overtime. A game that there were 3 buzzer beaters, but they hit one to win in overtime by their 6'3" forward Parker Weekly. And my first question to Bill was, man, that play at the end, it was just like you drew up, and
crazy play.
He just looked at me and laughed. He said, oh yeah, I draw up plays for 6'3" forwards who never shoot threes to go back and hit a fall away 3 at the buzzer. Yeah, I draw that up. It does, but that's the kind of guy he is. You can do that, and you don't question, and I was intrigued about going back to their win against Northeastern. Then he and John Eister have had just coaching battles over the years, but if you watch the intricacy of their relationship, it's phenomenal. I mean, they coach like heck against each other for an hour and a half, 2 hours. But you watch them before the game, their body language, their relationship, and the same applies in the girls to Kevin Bankos and Jerry Eckenrode, York Catholic, DeLone Catholic. And, I'm always fascinated by that. And last year I took a picture of Ack and John Eister talking before that buzzer beater game, and I just said, wow, how many times has this scene been, and they both loved it. I put out on Twitter, and they both just got such a kick out of it. And that's the neat thing about the coaching ranks.
Coach Ack is on Twitter too, isn't he?
Yes,
one of the
he
few
is.
coaches on Twitter.
He is indeed. So and yeah, we get a little communication there. Now they have an intriguing matchup this week, only because as you're looking when I drew this up was before they beat Northeastern. As I said before the break, I'm planning in advance. So I'm thinking, okay, now they're going to be fighting Eastern York for second place for a potential league seeding, if you will, and that. But, now that probably doesn't apply nearly as much. Maybe some of the luster is off this, except for the fact that they got to try a way to contain Brogan Nicholas, which, West York's got the defense to do, but Nicholas is scoring points. I think Eastern is as good or maybe even a little better than we thought.
Yeah, I think so too. They've had a good run, and right now they'd be in the league playoffs too, and they're trying to hold on to that final. They have that kind of wild card spot, third place between Division II and Division III is theirs right now, and they're trying to hold off Dover and the Bermudian guys like that. So they're fighting for their league playoff hopes. And East York West York is a nice little Division II rivalry regardless, and
right.
and they're both right there. So it's definitely be a good one.
Yeah, it's and it's funny you say that because you do West. East, when you get those directional things going, there should be a rivalry, right? I think that's one of the neat things about that, and and it's funny because I'm going to do the same thing I talked about, in the last segment about planning early. Well, I planned early, and I'm talking about Redline heading to New Oxford on the girls' side and that, and now you got Dow-Stown has now firmly put themselves between those two teams with the win against the Colonials the other night, so. Now there's one though. If New Oxford wins, man, it's Division I is a mess.
I'll be at that one tomorrow night to see Redline New Oxford, and I'm definitely excited for that one because you have Redline's offense, which you said has been in kind of a funk lately, but they have a high-powered offense.
They have a great defense. They've always had a great defense. They always will have a great defense.
And then New Oxford has one of the league's best defenses right now, holding teams to 20, 30 points a game, and they both need it. So who comes out with it? It's in New Oxford. I don't know if that gives them any advantage to Colonials, but in their last game went to overtime, 46-44 Redline win, and New Oxford gave them everything they can handle. So hopefully it's not too much to ask for another great finish like that one again.
Well, and what you have there too is I think that's an intriguing shooting matchup too, because we know New Oxford's got several who can hit the three, but they're going to be going up against probably the most consistent three-point shooter in the league in Courtney Dimoff. So I think that adds a lot to that and if they're not hitting, does hey, listen, the girls game can come down to rebounding just as much as the boys. I don't think there's any question about that.
And depth too. New Oxford runs 8, 9, 10 deep most games. I haven't seen Redline play, so I don't know too much about their depth, but New Oxford, especially at home, if it starts getting to a close game late like that, depth and fresh legs will definitely help.
Oh, it'll definitely help. Redline has 9 to 10 that they play, and Don Dimoff's not afraid to put them out there. Listen, when they were struggling against Central York, he went 10 deep in the second quarter just trying to find something to work, and he did it with confidence. Although, funny note, one of the assistants said to me, we should try this, and Don just I have tried it. We've tried everything. We're just not hitting, and it's just the struggles there. But, I think that is a part of it, and as I've seen, there has been nights that New Oxford's had 9 kids score, and that could be a big thing, being at New Oxford. I think the biggest thing, Redline's good enough to play on anybody's court, but the biggest thing is they've got to take the bus ride. And how they handle that. Redline and New Oxford are not right around the corner from each other.
No, that's a solid 40-minute drive.
Exactly. Solid is right. And if they have Queen Street like they do today, it will be a solid hour and 10-minute drive.
Steve has really been harping on this Queen Street. He's really up against PennDOT tonight, Steve.
Well, honestly,
it wasn't even the PennDOT thing.
Steve, look at it this way: they're working in just dumps of snow. So.
Yeah, which boy, that'll mess things up enough. It might take me an hour to get to the Graham Aquatic Center tonight for the the York Suburban West York swim meet, but nonetheless. So I'm looking tomorrow at something really different though, and it's different because and where this came to be, we get results. Obviously, the YAIA is our bread and butter in that, but there are local independent teams. One of which, I'm looking over district rankings, and I'm like, oh, and their honorable mention state rankings, Christian School of York girls team. They're right now in single A, 4th in the district, but they're also on the honorable mention list in states. I believe they're 11-2 now. I did not check that before I came in. I know they were 10-2 Monday night, but when it's always interesting because because they're schools we don't talk much about. sometimes we don't know enough about them, period. And I dealing with statistics for 23 girls teams is kind of enough within the league, though it's important. So to add a couple more, it just doesn't happen. But, I'm really, really intrigued to see how they fare at home tomorrow night against the top-ranked team in the district, Harrisburg Christian, who I don't know if they have a loss yet. So I think that's that's kind of an intriguing thing. And sometimes I really like going off the path, if you would. Yeah. At least a couple times during the season.
And they love it too. They're gonna love having you there and having the coverage, I'm sure. Because when you start seeing teams like that, they love having some kind of attention and being able to show. And they've had a great season. They deserved it.
Yeah, you're right. They absolutely do. And last year I did something similar with at York Country Day, and I ironically actually took photos while I was there of their boys coach Chris Charleston, and photos of them in the huddle. And they actually, with my phone, they actually came out good enough that we ran them in print. So got kind of lucky there. But that was again something I did
once in a blue moon thing there.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. So, and believe me, I'm not a photographer.
That's not your title.
No. But I try it. I do a lot of video work in that.
No question.
Listen, my most interesting picture of late was the suburban swimmers over the weekend put me on Snapchat at the Southwestern Relays. And, and it's just funny because, you look and, my age, but, I know these kids, I know their families and that. And, that was just funny. And people are like, you're on Snapchat? I'm like, well, no, they did it to me. So,
I'm not on Snapchat. I was put on Snapchat.
Yes, exactly. But they were impressed. I said, I'm going to put that on Instagram, oh, you're on Instagram, So but those are just the funny, odd things that we do. And I had a great time at the relays on Saturday, by the way. But I digress. So, it's going to be good. Check them out tomorrow night. And then Saturday, what a matchup. York Catholic at West York, unbeaten versus Red Hot girls basketball. The Irish are playing the best they played all year, and they're doing it without hitting three-pointers.
It's going to be a great matchup.
I think so too. And
could be a possible league playoff preview too.
It could
meet up in the playoffs.
They could meet up in the playoffs, and depending on the brackets, potentially the finals, I believe. But this is an unbelievable late January. I guess that'll be early February. Well, no, still that's the last day of January.
Yeah, 31st.
So what a great and obviously you cannot say enough about how well West York has played this year.
And their defense is just I thought their defense was one of the most impressive I've seen all year on either side, boys or girls. And then I heard great things about Langford, and I came in the first game, Wood dominated, and then I come back out the second night and Langford dominates. They have great balance in that team, and I couldn't say enough about how impressed I was. I thought they were easily the best girls team I've seen this year.
Yeah, and and it's funny because they've got some kids starting to come off the bench and really find their niche. Now, in a way, sometimes they're finding them in blowouts because West York's had some games that they're up 30 points, and the bench is playing a lot of the second half. But but that's a good luxury. That trains your future.
It's interesting. It does help build your team from a depth standpoint and a future standpoint. I do wonder if you want to be in, being in close games doesn't hurt either. Although I'm sure they've been in their fair share.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But so this could be again, I look at this as a highlight matchup. Of course, Kevin Banka's probably going, I don't know why you're saying that. They're unbeaten. Because he likes to downplay stuff like that. But the fun thing is, in doing the stats, I went through and I'm realizing they have no 3-pointers. And I texted Kevin about this. He said, oh, yeah, I put a moratorium on them. They better be absolutely wide open to take them because we were taking too many. They haven't lost since.
That's some Hoosiers coaching. What was that? Pass the ball, 5 passes before you shoot or something?
No question.
Exactly. And it was funny. But, and so now every time it's like, look, no 3-pointers or maybe one, but that's it. No more than that. So it's funny the way that they're winning. But they're getting it done. That's going to be a great matchup. And on that note, let's go to the 5 o'clock break. When we come back, Uncle Steve, right?
It's time for Uncle Steve. We'll get a little bit earlier than we normally do, but it gives us a little bit extra time, have some fun before we head out to swimming.
And we'll be ready. So you're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
This is a Radio PA news update. A task force at Penn State is recommending the university change how it handles sexual misconduct. In a report out this morning, the panel suggests the school should devote an investigator and other staff to such cases. The report has gone to Penn State President Eric Barron. The Pennsylvania State Police are under scrutiny following a recent crackdown on sports betting. David Payne reports.
The criticism comes from State Senator Lisa Boscola, who took to the Senate floor following recent raids at 3 volunteer fire companies in her district who were conducting Super Bowl betting pools.
What you may not know is that the state police liquor enforcement officers have arbitrarily decided to ignore Pennsylvania law and continue citing our local community volunteer firefighters and veteran organizations for offering these small, harmless pools.
Boscola says legislation signed last year allows sports betting by nonprofit groups under the state's small games of chance law. She says she hopes to meet with Governor Wolf and his new state police commissioner to try and resolve this issue. I'm David Payne.
Democratic Senator Christine Tartaglione has introduced a package of bills that would raise the minimum wage to $10.10 and also have the tipped wage equal 70% of the standard minimum by the start of 2016. She says the tipped wage hasn't been raised for at least a decade.
How many single mothers do you know that are waitresses? They rely on those tips. They haven't had a raise in an awful long time.
Tartaglione says now that President Obama has called for a raise and surrounding states have already made increases, it's time to try and give Pennsylvanians a living wage. And we know Hershey sells Kisses and Kit Kats, but what about Crave beef jerky? The president of Hershey North America says they'll buy the California-based company as part of its plans to continue expanding its offerings across the snacking continuum. I'm Rachel McDevitt, and you're up to date from Radio PA.
If your house could talk.
Winter's here. You turn up my heat and dry out my air. I become shocking. My floors crack and peel. I dry out your skin and irritate your nose and throat. I make you sick. Ugh.
Your home suffering from winter dry air? Get an April Air whole home humidifier installed for soothing relief in every room. Say goodbye to winter dry with April Air. Visit aprilair.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Center.org.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.
ICE's hostage update, death in a children's hospital, and a defense budget. I'm Evan Haining. There's still no word on any prisoner swap with ISIS, which holds a Jordanian pilot and Japanese journalist hostage. As for the Iraqi woman ISIS once released, correspondent Barbara Starr says,
at this hour, there's every reason to believe she is still in Jordan.
A gas truck exploded inside a maternity and children's hospital in Mexico City. Correspondent Rafael Romo reports 7 confirmed dead so far.
4 babies and 3 adults. That's what CNN has been able to confirm.
And over 3 dozen more injured. President Obama's new budget would spend $38 billion more on homeland security and defense than allowed by across-the-board spending caps. White House spokesman Josh Earnest calls GOP opposition a political stunt.
Republicans have shirked their responsibility to fund one of the government's most critical agencies, charged with protecting our homeland, securing our borders, and enforcing our immigration laws.
The Dow is ahead 134 points right now. S&P up 9. I'm Evan Haining.
If there's a new bathroom in your future, you might want to move up the date to right now. During the Home Depot's Cabinet and Bath Savings To Go event, discover Delta's radial bath faucet in bronze. Beautiful, classic, in stock, and at a special buy of only $69. Right now, the future of your bathroom and your budget is looking brighter than ever. Let's do this. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Price for 4-inch model, U.S. only, while supplies last.
It's Macy's One-Day Sale Saturday with a Preview Day Friday. Save 50 to 85% store-wide. Men's outerwear 50 to 75% off. Coats for her 60% off. Take an extra 25% off fine jewelry clearance for 60% savings. Take an extra 25% off shoes and boots for her for 60 to 80% savings. Plus, take $20 off a $50 purchase till 2 p.m. with your Macy's Pass. It's Macy's One-Day Sale Saturday. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Hi, I'm Central York boys basketball coach Kevin Sheeler. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. I'm here with Steve Navaroli and Teddy Feinberg. It's time for our Uncle Steve segment. I'm going to throw some opinion questions, some memory questions, some quiz questions, and ask Steve to give some speculation and some awards later on. But to get started, I don't even need my notepad. I know the first thing I want to ask you about was all these coaching changes. Jeremy Jones leaving York Suburban is the 6th one we've had this offseason, and the 3rd one that's been kind of staggered a little bit late. With Wiles leaving, I think Lamb was a little bit late at Dover. Now this one's a little bit late in the offseason. I guess, one, have you seen an offseason like this with such a strong coaching carousel, and I guess what do you make of it?
Well, last year, I think we had 5 or 6 last year. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways, to look at this. I think the fact that, some intriguing jobs opened up maybe, might have pushed some people in various directions, although we don't have confirmation on a lot of the hires. And I know, a lot of people are out there, well, I heard this, I heard that. Well, we hear it too.
Yeah.
But until somebody tells me so-and-so has indeed been hired, like when Sprinkle was hired at Spring Grove, they sent a release out saying, and the board is going to vote Monday night. So we were able to say on social media that Saturday before, hey, yes, they are going to vote on him. He got the job. I talked to him that night. But, unless they're going to confirm, and I know, there's a lot of pressure from a lot of ways to get the story out there. I understand that, but, you're kind of stuck with that. Right. So, but to get back to your original point, I think this is kind of going to be more the norm. Now, to say we're going to have 6 jobs open every year, no, I don't think so. But could you see 2 or 3 pretty much every year? Yes. And it's not always, here's the deal, it's not always success or lack of success driven. I mean, coaching football, but coaching any high school sport, but maybe football more so than the others, it's 12 months a year. It is a 12-month commitment. It's 12 months away from your, time away from your family. It's
time away from your other job, your full-time
away
job.
from your full-time job, and even if you're a teacher in the building, then you gotta, get the weight room schedule, and you gotta deal with stuff constantly. And I think that that adds to why we don't see the Brad Livingston's 35-year coaching careers all that much anymore.
I feel like we talk about it every week. It's a bigger pressure cooker now than ever before.
No question, and the reasons are endless. They really are. Hey, good word, way to go. But they are. And it's a lot of factors, and a lot, and and I know some guys just incredibly passionate about their sport, and and I shouldn't say guys, people. Yeah. Certainly. I mean, listen, I've had the great luxury of the last couple weeks chatting with one of my favorite people, Cheryl Mowry, the New Oxford swim coach, but she has also been the field hockey coach since 1978. Think about that, Ron. That is a long time, and she still plans to do it. She still has as much fun as ever in that, but there's not as much pressure in those sports.
Right.
No way. I mean, I tip my hat to her
it's
for being there
marvelous.
that long, but yeah, there's not nearly as much scrutiny.
No.
There's been some another topic that's picked up steam lately is this possible move in the state from 4 classifications to 6. And I know that the proponents of it would be a shorter season, more competitive balance, maybe a better playoff run or more competitive playoffs. I guess, would you be in favor of moving from 4A to 6A?
We actually talked a little bit about this, and yes, absolutely. I mean, and I just go with the fact that if Connecticut can have 6 classifications, come on. How big is Connecticut compared to Pennsylvania?
I think all the reasons Brandon just listed right there really all sounded very good to me.
Yeah, but it would shorten the season.
It would shorten. It would be in a regular season or the shorten our game.
Well, yeah, if what they've talked about now, if they go to 6, they would potentially shorten the season to 9-game regular season, and then the playoffs. But the playoffs would be done, I believe, early December. Think about this: the state championship football games this past year were December 15th.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's too long.
It's too long.
That is too long. Do you up it a week in August to get your training going earlier? I mean, that's another alternative. I know that they've talked about, but yet it's bad enough because let's face it, official practices start in early August, but they're practicing all July.
How many states are even going that late?
That would be a good question that honestly I don't have the answer. I typically kind of look at and say, oh my gosh, they have 8. There's states with 8 classifications. There are states with 6. 5, and they're all smaller than PA. And PA should be, however, the state I would be curious about is Texas. Bigger, football's bigger there. How do they handle it? And I'm not saying PA should emulate that because I think they're crazy sometimes down there when it comes to high school football.
Yeah.
But I think Pennsylvania could get away from this 4 classification that they've been married to forever.
We were talking about 1,000 points scores earlier. I've seen a couple reach that plateau this year, and it seems now that the custom celebrations is simply take the game ball, run into your parents, and get back on the court. What would I don't know if that'd be the first thing. Maybe I would do that first thing, but is that just the custom now? Is that the guarantee what you have to do, and what would you do to celebrate your 1,000 point?
Well, considering I'm 5'8" on a good day, I'm not sure 1,000 points would be in the conversation. But no, I think that's the great way. I mean, because let's face it, if you're a good athlete, you were probably a good athlete at 9 years old. At 10 years old, well, you weren't driving yourself to games at 9 years old, 10 years old. It was usually your parents. And because of it, and, Ted's giving me the look, that's a good answer, but you're a parent, so no wonder why you're saying that. But
He's definitely speaking from experience.
But, let's face it. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a hockey coach and hockey parent. Do you know how many early mornings I've had? I mean, it's when we get the rink, sometimes it's 6 a.m.
The hockey parents are real dedicated.
So flip the script. If you're a parent and your son gets his 100th goal, 1,000th goal, 500th goal, and he picks it up and comes and brings it to you, is that the best celebration are you happy with that? Are you proud of that moment?
Get the tissue box out. For me personally, I would tear up big time because that's just me. I mean, as a parent, yeah, absolutely, I would be unbelievably proud of that. I wouldn't expect it. But I think maybe that's the best part because I'm not sure parents are necessarily expecting to get a game ball presented to them. And how cool is that?
I will say this. I mean, I think it's a very good question. I've noticed the exact same thing. Again, I talked to Steve about all the 1,000-point scorers. I feel like I try to watch every single time we shoot a video of the 1,000-point scorer, and I always see them bring the ball over and give their mom a kiss. Completely legit. I have no idea what I would do. I scored like 200 points in my career, but I think honestly I would just try to just get the ball and try to score again. But
yeah, really. Thanks. Game on. Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of like that. I have no idea. I mean, it's I probably over celebrated when I scored goals when I was younger and that. And
PK Subban style.
Yeah, I mean, maybe didn't do it quite like that, but I mean, my best sport as a kid was baseball, but you didn't necessarily celebrate every time you stole a base, which was that was my niche, was stealing bases. So, but I would be known, I'll admit this, if I made a great defensive play and it ended the inning, I would be known to spike the ball sometimes. So,
Sweet. I like that.
Going into the pool, diving into the pools for your favorite swimming. Dallastown's the only boys and girls swimming teams without losses yet. Do either of those take an L before the season ends?
No,
before the regular season ends?
It's they there's only one meet left. They face Redline, and Redline's good. I mean, especially the girls team. I got a chance to see them the other night, but even they know. Dallastown's depth, and they've got good frontliners, but their depth is just unbelievable. I mean, honestly, if I looked at that, I might give Redline a slight advantage in frontliners, but in swimming, your points are such that you can win a meet by not winning an event. It's maybe a little more difficult that way, but you can do it because if you grab second, third, and fourth places, you're getting more points than the
that's
team
more valuable
that got
for
first.
just the one win.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I mean, that's that. But look, I mean, they win it every year. I mean, they are the epitome of the program around here.
Quiz question time. If you add the boys and girls hoops together, which school has the most wins on the court total? this year so far.
Total this year so far.
Adding boys and girls together.
Gotta be West York.
West York with 31. Two teams right on them. Northeastern at 30.
Yeah.
They've had success on both sides.
Saw that.
Central at 29.
Yeah.
The other ones I had originally I thought Dallastown, but they were at 25. York Catholic and DeLone both at 26 apiece.
The boy, but it's funny because all three of those you just mentioned are really strong on the girls' side. Boys' side, whether it be in transition or just not having the athletes right now. DeLone's case, injuries. So that's I think maybe that might tell you how good girls basketball is right now.
Definitely. We mentioned earlier how many you said it. The 1,000-point scorers have kind of doubled in recent years. Specifically in 2011, 4 guys reached the top 10 in York Adams' career scoring charts. They graduated that year, and that's when their record stopped. They're all in the top 10 now. Do you remember any of those 4 guys?
They're all still in the top 10.
They're all still there.
Andrew Nicholas.
That's one.
Did his teammate is Austin Tillotson in there
Austin
too?
Tillotson.
His team. They were teammates.
Yep.
So that's 2. Let's see. No, he didn't get up there. I mean, because we had a great run of kids that a lot of kids went Division I, including both of those. So boys.
The third one is also a Division I prospect. He went Division I.
Oh boy, I'm absolutely drawing blanks here.
Dallastown.
Oh yeah, Fort McGlynn. Gosh, how could I forget that? Yeah,
the fourth one's a little bit tricky. It was a Red Lion Christian, Logan Steckel.
Oh, Logan, yeah, playing at Penn State York now.
Yeah, he got up there.
Yeah.
Handing out some awards. Best coaching job this season on the basketball court boys side.
John Eister. I mean, I'm going to give it. I'm torn between Eister and Sowers. Because Sowers had to deal with it. The thing what Sowers has to deal with is the school situation. And I don't know how you do that. So now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to go Sowers 1.
Okay.
Eister 1A.
Okay.
Because Eister had to figure out all that talent. That doesn't mean you're automatically going to win, especially in a division that he's playing in. So I'm going 1 and 1A.
Okay. Midseason MVP.
I would go right now Dylan Krieger.
Okay.
Matt would argue that, I'm sure. But I think there's.
Well, if you take Krieger off that team, what does Hanover turn into? And that's what the most valuable player is.
That's what I go back to. Yeah. And Jair Wilson certainly is somebody in that conversation. But listen, the 2 games that he missed, they won them both by 40.
Yeah.
Not total, each.
Right.
They scored 90 plus both of those games. No knock on Jair, but that team's good anyhow.
Yeah, same thing with Northeastern. They have a whole crew of good players.
Yeah, and Kobe Nwando would be the third guy in the conversation. There's no question about it. Matt and I throw it out all the time.
Maybe a guy like Ryan Beck at Dover. Without Beck, what is Dover?
Oh, of course. I mean, they're better than we thought, even without Beck. But you can't argue his offense. Where the differences are. These other 3, I think, are really elite.
Yeah.
Ryan is really good. I mean, from a pure offensive standpoint, you can't argue him. I think what these 3 do on winning teams is unbelievable.
Of those Division II on the boys' side, we talked about all the schools in the logjam there. You have East York, West York, Northeastern, and Gettysburg, a little bit Dover there. Out of those guys, they're all going to make the playoffs. Which one of those are most equipped to make a deep playoff run?
Possibly. Oh boy. Here's the deal. Northeastern's Quad A.
Yeah.
And if Northeastern was AAA, that would be the easiest answer you could probably, that I could probably get. But, but Northeastern can play against Quad A teams. I don't think there's any question about it.
And they're still top 5, top
they're
8
still,
right now.
Exactly. West York could be that team, though, and I'll tell you why. Exactly what you saw against McDevitt. And if you want to look at this team and say, they couldn't even win their own league, and it's only York, go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Most underrated player, boys or girls side in basketball?
Wow, this is a really good one because there's just so many players. I mean, true underrated. Oh boy, this one could probably take me a little bit too long.
While you're thinking of it, I'll throw out some out there. Down in Hanover, Krieger supporting cast. He has some good underrated guys down there. Kraut, Rhodes, McQueen, all those guys are good. Ballsherman, Spring Grove, still gets overlooked in Division I sometimes. They got Gordon and Brooks are both outstanding scorers. I thought the big man Fink at Dover is very good. McCauley at West York, he doesn't always get the attention. Bailey I saw at West York was a great guard. Those were all guys that I had definitely in that conversation. I wanted to flip it to award, but for swimming, is there the biggest surprise you've seen in the pools this year?
I think, you know what? This is going to sound strange because they win it every year. I went into the season thinking this was the year Central would catch Dallastown and the boys. No, not the girls, but the boys. I really did because Central's so good.
And Dallastown held them off.
And Dallastown held them off by the beat them by 30. And it wasn't just, Central's depth is good. Central has everything. Mm-hmm. They've got some great swimmers, and yet Dallastown just keeps putting them out. A newcomer, Grant Wirtz, top breaststroker in the area, and they're just bringing people constantly. I'm really, really impressed. But it's impossible to call them a surprise. Right. Let's throw the hat out to Susquehannock for the boys. I mean, they've never won any kind of a title. They've at least clinched a share already, boys title. I mean, that's fantastic.
And then we're going to have some fun with some bracketology quick. We talked earlier, it's a little bit early to talk matchups, but I filled in the bracket how the league playoffs will look right now. Mm-hmm. If it started today, I want to see if we can crown an early season winner here. First matchup would be William Penn, East York. Who would you take in that one?
Got to take William Penn there.
Hanover, West York.
I'd go advantage West York only because of depth.
Okay. Central, York Catholic.
Central.
Northeastern, Spring Grove.
Northeastern. But that's a great game. That's a great game.
So then it would be William Penn, West York in the top semifinal.
I would pick William Penn, but would I be surprised it went the other way? No.
And then you'd have Central and Northeastern in the other semifinal.
Gotta like Northeastern there, but again, would I be surprised that thing goes the other way? Absolutely not.
So a most likely scenario you're seeing is William Penn, Northeastern in the league final then, if we had to speculate and say today.
Yeah. Double overtime. You know what? I'll throw it out there. I think I'll say William Penn, double overtime. But if Northeastern wins that, I'm not surprised.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Steve Navaroli's going to go ahead and call a double overtime win for William Penn in the league. He's already crowned the Bearcast League champion.
Wait a minute now. Don't go there because I'm not surprised if any. A couple of those early round games, I'm pretty
They could go either way. They could definitely go either way.
But, there is a lot of either ways.
That'll do it for our Uncle Steve segment. Have some fun again. Always great talking with Steve. We're going to let him get off the swimming here. Hopefully he can travel safely and the snow is coming down.
Seriously.
Teddy and I will be back with Andy Meese to talk some wrestling. But for right now, you're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill & Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chef's Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill & Pub, 2000 Louts Road in York. Come visit us today.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Looking for a different kind of family fun? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Get on the ice with your friends for Rock and Skate, the last Friday of each month. Every Wednesday is family night with free skate rentals for the whole family. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. For party package prices and public skating times, check out YorkSkate.com. Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork, and skating rental is included. Or get on the ice for York Ice Arena hockey programs. Taught by Ice Arena coaches, boys and girls can learn proper techniques for the game. Rental equipment is available. Group skating lessons and beginner hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to YorkSkate.com.
The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
Here's Wessner again, behind a screen, he hits another three! Ahead to Myers, wide open for the dunk! He jams another one, his second tonight!
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, First in Sports.
Hi, I'm West York girls basketball coach Daryl Wildison. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Greetings, folks. You are back here. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350. Teddy Feinberg, Brandon Stoneberg, Andy Meese joins us in the studio. Steve Navaroli just took off. Hopefully he drives safely to high school swimming this evening. Andy, you just drove here. We took pride earlier in being the in weather update at GameTimePA. So what were the roads like on your way from the York Daily Record to Santander Stadium?
30 was starting to get a little covered, and they were pretty much wet, but moving
Oh, dear.
as best as they could.
The driving in the snow is going to be an adventure on the way back. Well, folks, there's your weekly traffic and weather update. Tune back in here in the next 15 minutes. We'll give you a new one. No, we are here. Andy's here to talk high school wrestling. Obviously, District 3 team tournament has been going on throughout this week, so we want to get his thoughts. Andy does a fantastic job writing on our blog every single week, and of course you'll see his name pop up in the newspaper occasionally as well, the high school wrestling expert in this area. So let's get right to it, Andy. You were at Spring Grove Cedar Cliff this past week, and obviously the Rockets lost, and they lost in tough fashion. I guess talk about the match, and did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I thought it'd be probably one of the closest matches of the tournament, and it was one of probably 4, I think, to go down to the final match, which is, pretty good for early on in the tournament. But, the strengths where Cedar Cliff had them, they just didn't match up very well with Spring Grove. But Spring Grove, battled. They had 2 or 3 matches early on that they won, at the buzzer in overtime, right near the end. And, they just kept clawing away. And that's a young team, so they're going to be one to watch for in a couple of years.
Did you feel like, obviously, tight match down the stretch, and they're in the lead? How much did momentum play a factor? They were up 31-19, if I'm not mistaken. They lost 37-31. They dropped the last 3 matches. Is all this accurate? How much did momentum play a factor in that match?
After the first pin, it looked sort of like Spring Grove was a little deflated. But, in each of those matches, the Spring Grove wrestler, the last 2, they had the advantages, and Cedar Cliff just reversed them and threw in some arm bars and just powered them over.
Now, it is worth mentioning, actually, just for the listeners out there, these team seasons are not over. They fall into the consolation bracket now, and if they can come back and win the consolation bracket championship, they can still compete in the state tournament. Is this correct?
Yeah, well, Spring Grove, that match was a first-round match, so the loser of that was eliminated.
They're eliminated.
But we still have 4 York Adams teams that have a possibility of making it to the state tournament. 2 are going to be, they're going to be a little tough getting there.
Uphill battle. I'm assuming one of those 2 could be Kennerdale.
Yeah, they'll go against Southwestern tonight. In fact, it's going to be starting here in about 5 minutes. So I think Southwestern's going to take that one. I just think Southwestern is much deeper. But, Kennerdale's had a great season. They won their first ever section division title, and then they went to the postseason for the first time in team history and won a match there. They beat Milton Hershey on Tuesday night.
Did that surprise you, their victory there? I know that they lost Marsteller, who was obviously nothing short of he's spectacular personified.
Yeah.
So they lost him. They had a great year, but of course, from my understanding, maybe the competition wasn't as strong, or they clearly rose above the competition throughout the season. Then they enter postseason play, and they did pull off that first round win. Was that a surprise to you at all? Or was that expected on your end?
The first round win, I wouldn't call it a surprise. I mean, I felt they had a chance to beat Milton Hershey. It was going to just matter how they got their matchups, and everything went Kennerdale's way. They got bonus points early on.
Sure. Then
they stopped the run. Mike Bracey came up huge for them at 126 to help them beat Milton Hershey.
I want to ask you about Red Lion. All year, you thought they were a real pleasant surprise, a surprise team throughout the year, and a team that you thought was on the rise. And obviously they enter as a number 6 seed, and they fall to Penn Manor at number 11. Disappointment in your mind?
No. Penn Manor was probably the best 11 seed in districts in probably the last
Tough
10,
matchup.
15 years. Yeah, that whole pod was loaded. I mean, Penn Manor took Governor Mifflin all the way down to the last match as well as the 3 seed.
Sure.
And, they're going to be going against, they're going to be going against Cedar Cliff tonight and for a chance to move on.
Sure. So basically, as a number 6 seed, if you're a red line, it's just a tough draw, basically, when you draw Penn Manor at a number 11, maybe not your traditional 11 seed, and that could be very hard to overcome come playoff time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Penn Manor was, one match away from beating Solanco for the LL Section 1 title, which, Solanco is one of the best wrestling programs, not only in District 3, but in the entire state.
Now, you talked about Southwestern facing Kennerdale. Southwestern, they won their first round matchup against Mechanicsburg, which obviously wasn't really, that didn't come out of left field. All Southwestern's a 4, Mechanicsburg's a 13. They come back, they actually fall to Exeter Township in the following round, so now they get KD. Southwestern is a very good program, a very good team, and I'm assuming you're anticipating them advancing.
Yeah, I expect them to beat Kennerdale. The thing with their matchup with Exeter is both teams' strengths are at about the same spot. The lower weights, Exeter at 120 has a kid Brett Culp. He was a state qualifier last year, and, Southwestern threw out Derek Wilson there, and it was a tight 1-point match that went all the way into, I think, ultimate tiebreakers, and from what I've heard, it ended very controversially.
Really?
So, I mean, you get that the other way, and Southwestern's facing Cumberland Valley tonight.
No question. Couple matches here, and I want to get to DeLone Catholic because Brandon actually, before the show, he's tooting his own horn about how much he's grown in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, grown from -5 knowledge to at least 3% knowledge.
I mean, he's so. And DeLone Falls, Brandon, you obviously were at their competition. You covered it, so why don't you give your quick breakdown analysis, and then Andy, you can jump in after that and kind of give your thoughts as well. Brandon, go for it.
Yeah, it was made the trip up to Bowling Springs. I'd never been up there before. It was a nice hour hike through the backwoods of York and Cumberland County. Very gracious host though. If anyone in Bowling Springs is listening, they're very, very nice. Everyone I met there was great.
Did they have food?
They did actually.
Wow!
They had food. They were very.
What did they have?
There was a press box in the gym, which I've never seen before, which is really, really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, you had kind of a view from above, which is awesome. Great for video. Anyway, so Bowling Springs, the host, heavily favored. They just run through Biglerville, and that was kind of a foreseen thing. 59-6 with the final. Talking to Coach Becker afterward at Biglerville, I mean, they knew they were a match. It was a bad draw. He said if you get a 7 or 8 spot in this tournament, you were going to end up with Meridian or Bowling Springs, which is better luck next year, basically.
Yeah.
He said they were mostly just working on individuals and getting their individual guys ready for tournaments. And then on the other side, DeLone took a big lead over Hamburg, and no one celebrates quite like DeLone does. I mean, their bench loves it. They get really into it. They were getting crazy. You would have thought that was a championship match, and it was the first round of the district tournament. And they got up 28-18, and they gave up 10 quick points, and it came down to the heavyweights, which is what most wrestling fans love to see. The match came down to Bryce Perkins, a sophomore, at 285, and 27 seconds later he pins the kid, and not much drama there. He just ends it, and DeLone went crazy. And talking to Coach Steeringer afterward, I mean they lost heavily to Boiling Springs next, but talking to him, they're 3 years removed from going 1-11. It's been 4 years since they made a playoff trip. He said it was mostly just about getting the pride back. He said he had a great quote. He says something like. This one was mostly just for the first. The first one was the big one. We wanted to make sure we could still wrestle Saturday and at least get in consolation.
Sure.
Anything after that, we were basically playing with house money. It was basically extra. He said it was mostly. It's great to see the black and gold pride back at it, and it's a huge, huge, huge thing for the program. They have such a better turnout. He said, they've got kids coming from outside the area, coming from the football program, coming over. Everyone wants to be around the program, so it's a huge lift for those guys.
Andy, obviously they had a bounce back year. What were your thoughts on their season? I mean, it continues, obviously, but go ahead.
Yeah, I thought after last year with the strides some of their guys made in the individual postseason, I thought they were going to have, a pretty good run through Division III, and, they did. That was a great season for DeLone, and still got another match on Saturday.
Still have another match on Saturday for sure.
And no one was, I told Coach Steeringer afterward, he said, we're going to get Northern Lebanon Saturday. I said, wait just a second here, Coach. You guys are going to see Bermudian one more time.
Yeah.
And that's because Bermudian fell at where were they? They were at Bermudian.
Yep,
they were at Bermudian.
What were your thoughts on them falling? I think we had upset in the headline, and I came up to you after the evening. I said, is this an upset or not? And you said, maybe it's one way to look at it, but it doesn't seem like you're too surprised by any of the results per se here.
No, I had Bermudian winning by 10 in my prediction, but that was with the assumption that Bailey Oberlander would be in the lineup. And unfortunately, it seems like he's going to be out the rest of the season now with the shoulder injury he suffered against Boiling Springs. But, you flip. I'd given them 6 points on my little check sheet there for that one. And had I known he was out, I probably would have flipped 6 the other way.
Sure.
I actually would have had Northern Lebanon coming out. The Vikings up there have been, plugging and plugging away the last couple seasons. I know Coach Wallace up there pretty well, and, he's just been building that program. They took their entire team this summer down to the Disney Duels and competed well, which is really good. Usually you see a lot of all-star teams from the area go there.
Sure.
But they've, people have bought into their program, and their assistant coach, Jim Collins, a former state champ up there, he actually left as the head assistant at Central Dauphin to go to Northern Lebanon. So I think that speaks a little bit for how their program's been building over time.
And they won the toss right off the bat, which was a huge lift for them to kind of set the matchups how they wanted it, right?
Yeah, that allowed
I just want to say I'm shocked by Brandon's analysis here. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, that allowed them to throw, Evan Daub, one of their better wrestlers, up to 195.
Wow.
Where when they met back in December, he actually wrestled Colton Dahl and lost. But allowing him to bump up there, that gave them the matchups they wanted to, and it also allowed them to move one of their better wrestlers, Zach Kelly, away from Austin Clayball.
Let me ask, how do you see the pods playing out, over the course of the weekend? What do you think is going to happen?
I think Boiling Springs will beat Northern Lebanon. I think it'll be tight. Nobody expected Northern Lebanon to get this far, so, in some aspect, I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I think Bermudian will take care of DeLone, but if Boiling Springs wins, Northern Lebanon's the true second based on the new format because they beat Bermudian Springs in the final. The only way Bermudian can move on is if Northern Lebanon beats Boiling Springs, and then they'd have to face off in the third place match.
Just looking back at the course of the year, key storylines, pleasant surprises that you had, throughout the course of the year. Obviously, we're in the mix of postseason time now, but what were some major storylines that really caught your eye this season?
Kennerdale. That's pretty much it. The fact that the Rams were able to do what they did despite losing, arguably the best wrestler in Pennsylvania state history is, remarkable. It could have been aided a little bit by the new division alignment, but they still had to go out there and take care of business.
Yeah,
and, West York's no slouch either, and they went out and beat them, pretty good.
It says a lot about that program. It's interesting. You have a great wrestler like Marsteller, and they obviously had a level of success under him, and you wonder how much of a carryover effect that has in any sport, whether we're talking wrestling. Their expectations changed, and it's great to see.
It's also one of those things with a wrestler like that, you're really going to build interest from these kids that went out and watched him wrestle, and they're now wrestling in the elementary programs. So I think this is really only the start for Kennerdale, and you could see almost a type of dynasty like Bermudian Springs has in Division III. You could see them start to run one in Division II.
Sure. Well, Andy, anything else you want to add?
Not really. Can't wait for the individual season to start in 2 weeks.
Anyone there that you really have circled regionally, locally?
You got the Bermudian kids. You got Shelton, Dahl, and McCollum. They've got a chance to go deep. Dahl and Shelton are ranked second right now in the off-the-mat rankings for the state. In AAA, I think you got to look at Seth Janney from Southwestern. He's arguably the top 220-pounder in the district in AA or AAA. And so I think he's going to have a real good postseason. Although, wouldn't it be great to see Janney and McCollum go against each other?
It'd be awesome.
I'd love to see that.
It'd be awesome to see that. Well, Andy, we really appreciate your time as always, man.
Yep.
You're listening to GameDay with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Me and Brandon will be back here shortly, so don't go anywhere.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on a brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
And that's going to do it. The York College Spartans are 2014 CAC champions.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
The safety blitz.
You think the Rams are kicking themselves every day for the amount of money they gave Sam Bradford? You play quarterback in this league and you play it at a pretty decent level, you're getting yourself a 9-figure contract.
How do you invest money long-term, big money into RG3? All these quarterbacks are getting basically $100 million, $50, $60 million guaranteed. How do you know if you want him as your long-term quarterback solution if he can't stay on the field?
The safety blitz, weekends on NBC Sports Radio.
Hi, I'm Dover boys basketball coach Brian Schmoyer. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
Welcome back, folks. Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg on the mic. Brandon Stoneberg joins me. Andy Meach just gave us some great wrestling analysis. It's kind of been a
great wrestling
analysis. It's kind of been Brandon, you were great. I mean,
Thank you. I like
the
the
wrestling game.
I've been trying all year just so I can chip in 1 or 2 lines here and there during that segment, and that's been my goal every wrestling match. Let me make sure I get something to talk about on the radio.
I mean, now you brought it, and it was good to see.
Thanks.
You can watch us on our live stream. We probably should have mentioned this earlier. GameTimePA.com/GameDay. We're here every single week, 4 to 6 p.m. talking high school sports. Game Time PA crew. Mm-hmm. So there was some breaking news today. Maybe came out the last day or two. Jeremy Jones, York Suburban football coach. He leaves Suburban after a 2-year period there. Went 5-5 his first season, 4-6 last year. 6 coaching changes. I know you and Steve talked about just kind of the revolving doors coaching, but what's your feeling on it? Why do you see, and again, we have West York, we have Susquehannock, we have Spring Grove, we have York Suburban. I know I'm going to leave some people out. Those are 4 off the top of my head.
Dover, West York.
Yep.
I think they're all appealing in their own kind of unique way. I mean, if you go to DeLone, technically everyone likes to say they can kind of recruit because you don't have to just take kids in one specific area. And you're also in a lower class, which means a better chance to play off.
Had a level of success, it seems.
Yeah, they have a good tradition. You go to West York and you can win right away. They have a great tradition there. Same thing at Dover. They've had some great years lately, and they got some great talent up there. Suburban, the Jones one, I've only met Jones once. I saw them get blown out by Spring Grove. They were in rough shape at the beginning of the year. Anytime you start off 0-3, 1-4, and they didn't even score their first 3 weeks. You remember that? Suburban, they got shut out their first 3 weeks.
That was an eyebrow raiser.
Yeah. And everyone thought, maybe they go 1-9, 0-10, and all of a sudden they flip things around and end up, I think, 4-6, 5-5 by the end of the year. So a great coaching job there by Jones. No one was really expecting him to leave, I don't think, but all of a sudden, he's a former pupil of Ron Miller, and Ron Miller's job becomes open.
Former offensive coordinator, West York.
Maybe that contributes to why that job's why York Suburban's looking for a coach now. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we'll know in the next couple of days and weeks if he's taken West York. Stoner, left Spring Grove. He was another West York grad. We thought he could be up for that one. I'm sure West York probably had a long list of people who wanted that job. It's a great job to have. Susky was another one we left out there. I mean, Susky, you have a big area. You've got some talent down there, and in Division II, you can have 1 or 2 good seasons to be right in the thick of things in Division II. So.
They've had some years recently they've fallen on some hard times, but there's been years where they've been quite good. I want to get back to the West York situation. Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
They've had a revolving door coach, too. I think they had – this last coach was there for 1 year. The coach before that wasn't,
It's no stability there. That's killer. I want to – the West York, you mentioned, obviously, and we were talking about this before the show, here in studio or here in our set, about, it being a great job.
Yeah.
A good athletic school. They have good teams across the board. Ron Miller built that program up to a certain level, and he set a certain bar there that is now going to have to be lived up to.
Right.
So while I do think it's a good job, and I think certainly no coach in their right mind, no one's going to say, oh, I'm not going to go there because the bar's been set too high. I mean, who would ever set their standards like that? But it is an interesting dilemma. Ron Miller did a great job with that program.
He did a great job, and like you said, that kind of makes it a double-edged sword almost, because do you want to go to maybe, when
the expectations are going to be high then.
The expectation, that's big shoes to fill right off the bat because of the run he's had at West York. But you're also coming into a thing where the staff is used to winning, the players are used to winning. Their work ethic's great. You don't have to build the program yourself; it's already built for you. But you're having to come in and win right away. I mean, the expectations are going to be high. West York's not going to settle for 4 wins, 5-win seasons for very long.
I think the dynamics are interesting at these programs, at where the openings are, maybe besides Susquehannock, where most of the time, if you're a coach and you're going to enter a job, I think just generally speaking, your expectations are, well, I have to build this from the ground up. And I wouldn't necessarily say these jobs are like that. The ones that you listed off, your West York, your Spring Grove, your DeLones.
But some coaches are into that. Some coaches want to build their own program, and you can do that at Susky, which makes Susky an appealing job, or Suburban.
And I'm just saying, what I'm trying to say, it's just unique.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just
it's a very unique, widespread spectrum of coaching jobs open right now, I think. And I think some, if you want to speculate more, do some of these guys just switch spots? Because we're not going to expect Jones to stay out of coaching. He's fine. Stoner has already said that he's not going to be out long. He might get a job this year. Does he go from Spring Grove to a West York or Dover or Suburban? Does Jones go from a Suburban to a West York? Is Wiles going to stay out of it down in DeLone? He took a little break. He's been coaching for a long time, and his son's graduating, so he left DeLone. But how long does he stay out of it if some of these other appealing jobs are there?
Real intriguing off-season storylines.
Yeah. Definitely. It definitely gives us some stuff to talk about over the offseason.
Sure. Kyle Sprinkle gets hired at Spring Grove. I know that you cover Coach Stoner very closely. I believe you played athletics under Coach Stoner. I think
up at Central, yeah.
He had a nickname for you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into all that. But the point is, you see what he can do firsthand, and Coach Stoner did a good job at Spring Grove. I think all things considered. What do you think? You can obviously discuss him, but also the Sprinkle hire, Kyle Sprinkle. What are your former athlete there, former football player,
right?
And wrestler.
Well, the Stoner thing. He took over a team that had gone 1 win the year before him, or 2 wins, 3 wins.
Sure.
Their expectations weren't high. Then they had a brand new stadium. Stoner comes in a little bit after that. He gets the team, going in the right direction. They made a playoff appearance. I think he catches. He's a very. Everyone knows him. Knows he's very blunt. He's very loud. He's very aggressive. And
I love that.
And yeah, some people love it. Some people hate it. From the outside, it might it might seem abrasive to people, and people get turned off by it. But other people, when you play for him, you want to play your heart out for him. His loyalty to his players is never questioned, and his players' loyalty to him is never questioned. He's definitely a player's coach. Maybe he didn't have the best relationship with people at Spring Grove. I'm not sure, but I think he can. If any of the other schools pick him up right away, I think he's a great coach to have, especially if he comes in with players like he turned around Spring Grove. What could he do at a place like Susky, or what could he do with a challenge like DeLone, or goes back home to the West York Dover area and picks up people there? Who knows? Sprinkle, I think if Spring Grove wanted a change of pace, Sprinkle could definitely provide that. And he's a homegrown kid. He's a Spring Grove grad. He's been around the program before. He's no stranger to it. And I haven't talked to him yet, but in reading Steve and Ghoul's story, he seems excited and ready to get into the weight room right now. So. Being a former athlete, that'll be great, and a Rocket grad, But if he doesn't work out in 2 or 3 years, they're going to, do the same thing they did to Stoner, and they're looking for a whole new coach all over again.
Well, that's the key question.
Because if going from 2 wins to 6 wins to 4 or 5 wins isn't the progress you want to see, then what does Sprinkle have to do to come in?
Fair point. I know you want to touch on high school hoops. I kind of want to touch on your bracketology a little bit.
I love my bracketology.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Of course, on the Hanover Sports blog, Locker Room Chatter.
Locker Room Chatter, YorkBlog.com/recruit. We've had some fun. We've done a couple different things. I did a holiday thing, or what each team should ask Santa for Christmas.
That was classic.
I did a New Year's resolution, what each team's New Year's resolution should be. People seem to love it. I went to a couple events out in Hanover, and people came up to me and they're like, "Are you the one that did that?" And at first I was like, "Yeah, is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing?" And they were like, "You're a little harsh in Littlestown, but everyone else is really funny."
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah. But yeah, I did bracketology, and I just kind of I looked up how the York Adams does their league playoffs, how they choose the league playoffs.
Sure.
So I just plugged in the teams. I said, if it starts right now, these are the teams in it, and the matchups are just great. And I love speculating about things like that, And maybe it turns out that way, maybe it doesn't. There's still time left in the season, but it's still really cool to look at and talk about.
Draw any conclusions?
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think we might have more fun covering the league playoffs because we're so familiar with each team's style as opposed to district where we don't know much about the other team we're covering. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. If you look on the boys' side, just in the first round, you get Hanover West York. How fun of a matchup is that gonna be to see?
It'd be awesome.
Central York playing York Catholic, Northeastern Spring Grove. How fun was that? Kobe Nwandu going against Eli Brooks and Darren Gordon. And there's just a lot of good matchups. Same thing on the girl. I don't have the girls one in front of me, but it's the same thing. And then the bubble teams are right there. And the boys' side, Bermudian is right there. I believe Red Lion and Dallastown are a little bit off in Division 1. Dover and Gettysburg are a little bit behind in Division 2, but there's some bubble teams trying to make it in there as well.
Anything that you're really looking forward to from a high school standpoint down the stretch of the season? Any bubble teams that you really want to see emerge? Anything in particular?
I love the bubble teams. On the boys' side, for districts, I mean, Spring Grove is in the last 5 to 6 spots in Quad A. They're AAA. They've had some tough time. They bounced around. They've been as high as 13th and as low as 20th in the last month. The district can't seem to pinpoint where exactly they want to put Spring Grove. DeLone down there, they're in 9th and 10th consistently in AA, and only 10 teams make it. So can they put they've been able to tread water. They haven't gotten on a winning streak and they haven't gotten on a losing streak all season. They seem to alternate wins and losses. And Coach Williams in his first season down there has had to deal with. He lost 2 of his leading scorers to injuries before the season even started. And if he gets right now in districts, if his first round matchup will be Hanover, so Hanover's gonna be right there. If Hanover could beat Camp Hill, who's ranked number 1 later this the next week or two, can they move up to number 1 in their district? That'd be cool to see. Gettysburg put together a winning streak. They were out of it, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and all of a sudden they might get a home game in the playoffs. You never know. So I think all those are fun to see. I think Quad A in our area is pretty locked up, but AAA or AA and AAA will be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That's really what it's all about, that postseason B-ball.
Yeah. And on the girls' side, I mean, we have powerhouses. We're really top heavy on the girls' side with DeLone, York Catholic, West York, Red Lion, stuff like that. But that the girls' playoffs can be a lot of fun as well.
I think across the board it'll be awesome. And if you have not checked out Brandon, give him the website one more time.
Yeah, it's yorkblog.com/recruit. We do some of our more columnish, opinionated, speculation type stuff over on there on that side. And then every now and then we run it in print and online as well. It's a lot of fun, gets a lot of hits, gets conversation started. So check that out, and feel free to email us or tweet at us or let us know what you think of it.
Absolutely, do it, folks. Also, come back and join us for our final segment here in a minute. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Kids of all ages will learn how to feel comfortable on ice, how to stand, and perhaps most importantly, how to fall properly. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. Classes are taught by York Ice Arena skating instructors from White Rose Figure Skating Club. No skates? No problem. Skate rental is included in your registration. Or get on the ice for our York Ice Arena hockey programs. York Ice Arena coaches will focus on teaching proper techniques needed for anyone interested in playing hockey. Rental equipment is available for beginning players, both boys and girls. So get on the ice. Learn to skate. Learn to play. Sign up now. Group skating lessons and beginners hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to yorkskate.com and click on program info. York Ice Arena, the coolest place in town.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Dylan Krieger of Hanover Basketball. Krieger's 1,195 career points is a new record at Hanover. He set the mark during the team's 65-60 win over York Catholic on Friday as he finished the evening with 25 points. And this week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Debria Hendricks of Dallas Town Basketball. Hendricks carried the Wildcats down the stretch during their 47-38 win over New Oxford on Friday night. She scored 9 of her game-high 18 points in the fourth period while knocking down 7 of 9 shots from the free-throw line. She also hit 3 three-pointers on the evening. For Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, I'm Ray Jensen.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
So we will wait until that hearing takes place. Apparently, Silver used the words that he is still beyond anger over this entire situation.
Okay, you know what, Bald Peen? Settle down. I'm beyond angry. Okay, we get it. You're angry, you're embarrassed, you've apologized to Magic and everyone else. Just go ahead and take the garbage out. Take the garbage to the curb. Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Here in a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm Red Lion Boys basketball coach Steve Schmale. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back, folks. Teddy Feinberg, Brandon Stoneberg, Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. We are wrapping up the show here. We have a couple minutes. It was an entertaining show. There was a revolving door.
We had some musical chairs. We plugged some guys in we needed to, and it started with me and you, it ended with me and you.
It did, exactly. Nav got here a little bit late. He came in, flawless transition. Meese got here and did his wrestling thing.
Like we said with Meese, he's a six man. He came in for a little spurt off the bench, gave us the lift we needed, and we're good to go.
Couple boards, couple buckets.
Yeah, he had a couple threes. He had a little J.R. Smith moment there.
What'd you learn today?
I learned that the forecasters can't seem to get anything right out here in York, PA. They called for a blizzard last week and gave us 2 inches, and then they say a little dusting tonight, and now we got to go clean the car off before we head out.
Yeah, Andy brought up a good point. South Central PA.
It's tough, though.
Tough.
You're in a valley. You got some mountains around. You got the ocean near, down there, the bay there.
Well, it's interesting. I think, in terms of over-predicting the weather forecast, meteorologists, generally speaking, aren't going to get in trouble for over-predicting.
Yeah. They're like the umpires of journalism. The referees. They're going to get criticized no matter what.
But that's when you get in trouble if you say, well, the storm, it's not going to be that bad, don't worry about it, and then the next thing you know, there's 9 inches on your dome. Well, that's when you're going to get in a little bit of trouble. So
and then when they tell us there's a blizzard and everyone gets all hyped up for it, and
there you go.
2 inches.
But that's the point. You'd rather overestimate and say blizzard's rolling in and get 2 inches than say 2 inches is rolling in and then there's a blizzard.
So now we've done traffic and weather here on the Game Time show.
Well, I've thought about this a lot. So that's what you learned. Yeah, I honestly learned the same thing. I actually was kind of planning on maybe queuing that one up. So I definitely learned that. I definitely learned Meese's money in the 6-man role, but I already knew that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I learn a lot every single time I take the mic here, for sure. Let me ask you this. Anything you're working on, anything on the horizon here, anything you're looking forward to from a coverage standpoint besides playoff hoops here next week or two?
Yeah, definitely some more hoops action. Actually going out to New Oxford tomorrow for hoops, but before that I'm going to stop at their cheerleading practice. They just won their 3rd straight state title in New Oxford, so shout out to the Colonials. Got to give them some more attention, so I'm going to head out there to practice tomorrow, do some interviews, some video, and maybe a little story out of that, and then they go to UC Nationals next week and try to represent the York Adams on a national scale.
That sounds pretty good to me. And who are they playing in hoops tomorrow?
The girls, I'm covering the girls hoop. They play Red Line, which is a big Division I matchup there.
Huge Division I matchup. They had a great game earlier in the season.
Yeah, they went to overtime earlier this year.
They went to OT earlier in the year, so that should be hotly contested. And we talked about the log jam up top on the standings. So those two teams.
And we still have some wrestling. We got some consolation matches with our wrestling teams, and still see how far they can go. So,
no doubt. Well, I think it's been a great show.
It has, definitely has. It was a challenging show because we had so many revolving doors, but I think we handled it pretty well. We're getting good at this.
Yeah, I think we
not
handled
the tuner
it
on
well.
horror, but
I've done it before.
Yeah.
Folks, thanks for listening as always. You can catch us every week, 4 to 6 p.m. here, WOYK 1350, Game Day with Game Time PA Radio. Check us out, also GameTimePA.com all day, every day for the latest and greatest of high school sports. See ya.